In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit one God آمين. ادوني 10 دقايق بالإنجليزي وبعدين هعيد الكلام تاني بالعربي. We began this Sunday, the first Sunday of Kehk, and we started Kehk already from Wednesday. Kehk is a very special period. Special tunes, special readings, and one more thing to say, we begin the year with Kehk. Today, this is the beginning of the Gospel of Luke, Luke 1:1. Not only that, but actually we begin also reading the Pauline epistles. Seems like we today are beginning all the readings. It's Romans 1:1. Not only that, but the Catholicon. We start from the first letter in the Catholicon, letter of James, and it's James 1:1. We go to the Epraxis, the book of Acts, and we started the Acts 1:1. It's the first of all of our readings, because it's the first of the gospel. When you ask somebody, tell me the story of Jesus, they will begin from Luke 1:1, before he was born. The very, very beginning is an interaction, a meeting in the temple, in the church, in the old church, between an old priest and heaven, an angel, Archangel Gabriel. Before even the angel goes to St. Mary, he goes to the temple to preach the good news, and it has to start from the church. You're going to have to understand this. Anything good has to start from the church. Before you become a Christian, you get baptized here, and then you become a Christian. So, the book of Luke starts with a very interesting, even most of the scholars, it's a common knowledge among people who study the Bible, that the first chapter and the second chapter contains very old people. Very old people. So it begins like this. But they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both well advanced in years. Who are the next person you see? So you're going to see Zechariah, Elizabeth. You know, except for St. Mary, the Mother of God, who is a young girl, everybody else is an older person. Simeon, second chapter of Luke. What do we know about Simeon? He was an old man, waiting for the consolation of God. What did he say when he saw Jesus? Now, Lord, let your servant depart in peace. Peace, meaning what? Depart means not go anywhere. He wants to get to heaven. He wants to leave this world. He's old. And then we were told also about Anna, the daughter of a tribe of Phanuel, and from the daughter of Phanuel, from the tribe of Naphtali, I believe, or Asher, and she was very old. Either she was 85, or she was 85 years in her widowship. So it means she's a widow for 85 years. That means she's much more older. All these people are very old, to say it shortly. And it seems like all of them are expecting, waiting. Simeon is waiting. Zechariah and Elizabeth, actually Zechariah we will discover now, he stopped waiting. He doesn't wait anymore. Anna is waiting. And the people who study the gospel says, this is the Old Testament, the old people, the old covenant from the time of Moses, from the time of Abraham, from the time of Adam, waiting. And it seems like whatever they're waiting for is now going to be given. Their prayers. They're begging God for things, and their cries and their tears, all have been heard. And now the time to make them happen. All the expectations, the good expectations. So when the angel appears, it appears to a priest from one of 24 groups of priests. His name is, the group that he's in, his name is Abijah. And he lives in a town near Jerusalem, is Ain Karim today. If you go visit, it's Ain Karim. It's a beautiful, hilly country. And his house is very quiet and peaceful, in a peaceful place. And I'm thinking he left his wife to go and have his service. And their service would be divided into either sacrificing animals outside or inside the sanctuary, inside here. So if this is the tabernacle or the temple, this is the temple, the altar of incense will be right here. And this door is shut, completely shut. There's nobody that goes in here except one time a year, and it's usually the high priest, only the high priest. But any priest will be serving here, and they will have this, I would say it looks like our podium, our mangalia, our lectern. And imagine it here with coal on top of it, and it's lit. And then he's offering the incense, putting the incense and praying. He's saying his prayers. And then all of a sudden, a person appears out of thin air, right here, standing and speaking to him. So there, by the way, in the old times, and now we understand this is very special. Everybody waited in the court. If you were in the Old Testament, you would be out in the parking lot. And just the few priests, all the priests, the few priests that have the job to do the service, they will come in here. And this is what they will be doing. And it might be some other priest standing outside doing the sacrifices with the people who wants to have a peace offering or sin offering or trespass offering or whatever offering they're bringing. It will be outdoors. So they were all outside praying. And then the angel appeared to him, standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, I think this is one of the reasons why we put our incense box on the right side of the altar. It's one of the reasons. We have it on the right side. He was terrified, I'm sure. Like he did not expect this. He expected his service to be peaceful, uneventful, and he would go home. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zacharias, for your prayer is heard," which is interesting. Your prayer is heard. And he's going to say to him, how is it heard? Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you shall call his name John. And he will be a reason for you to be very excited and happy, and not only for you, for everyone. And he's talking about his job. He will be consecrated to God from the belly of his mother. And he will return many of the people of Israel to their God. Then Zechariah says, how shall I know this? I am an old man and my wife is well advanced in years. And here I see something. Have you not been praying about this? Have you not said to God, give me a child, give me a son? What happened? Why is it to you very difficult to understand that you're given now the gift that you've been praying for? Nobody else has been praying for it. You are praying for the child. What happened? Apparently, Zechariah gave up, like almost all of us. You pray for something, and then after a while you say, I know that God's not going to do it. You might say something like this: God will do whatever God wants to do. I don't need to pray. Then you stop. And you give up praying for anything else. Is that even fair? I don't think so. I do not think so. What happened? Why Zechariah was not given a child when he was young? Now we know this. You all know it. Why Zechariah was not given a child when he was a 20, 30 years old man? Why he had to go on to be like a 60 or 70 years old? I want to just tell you something. It's not because of their sins. The Bible describes them, both of them, Zechariah and his wife. By the way, I have a great conviction that Zechariah and Elizabeth are the ones who brought up St. Mary after her parents died. We know that from tradition. She lived in the temple. Who would be taking care of her in the temple? It has to be a priest, like Eli. Who would that priest be? It has to be one of her relatives. And this would be the priest to take care of her, the wife of Elizabeth, her cousin. So they're very connected together. And I know this especially when the angel is going to tell St. Mary, next week we'll read this, your cousin is pregnant, who goes quickly to serve? That means she has access to the house. She doesn't need invitation. She knows how to go. So I am very confident they are the people that brought up St. Mary. And they are righteously called righteous. Rightly called righteous. And they were both righteous before God. Means blameless. You cannot catch them doing anything wrong. Gossiping, stealing, cursing, cussing, all this stuff. No, they don't do that at all. And they are not hypocrites. But they didn't have a child. So is that like a mystery? Why these good people cannot have a child when they're young? And you know why? Because their child is going to have to be consecrated from the womb of his mother and to be the forerunner of Christ. Can that child come at any time? No. He has to come at a very certain time. It's in God's plan. But they have to wait. But Zechariah has to wait. In his waiting, Zechariah gave up. In his waiting, Zechariah said, the Lord does whatever the Lord wants. I don't need to pray. I'm done. So he stopped praying. In this way, putting the story in this way, there is some kind of goal of what we're praying for. If we have a mutual interest, God and us. And if it's going to be left to God to lead, He will do it the way and the time He wants it to be done. And I have to be patient. There's nothing we pray for is ignored. Nothing. I'm just going to tell you that. Absolutely nothing. That you and I pray for is going to be ignored. I have a similar story like this, and I want to go with you to a very, very important story that you keep in mind. As Luke is writing the gospel, I am sure everyone in this gospel think of this very profound story that is important for us to understand and keep in mind. The story of Hannah. And I wanted to read with you this story. Another barren woman. Sometimes you say, which one is barren? The husband or the wife? Sometimes it's very clear it's the wife, sometimes it's clear it's the husband. Or it's not that clear it's the husband, because in the old times, a man can marry 2 wives. And if one of them gives him children, then very clearly the other one is barren. So that's what happened. Now there was a certain man of the Ramathaim, Zophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tuhu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite from the tribe of Ephraim. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. I try to think he was married to Hannah first, and then when they didn't get children, she told him, let us, like Abraham, let's have you a wife and then get children, because I cannot just hold you. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children, and this is terrible. This man went up from his city, from Ramathaim, Zophim, every year to worship for the feast to Shiloh, the place where the tabernacle was before David built Jerusalem, and sacrificed to the Lord of the hosts in Shiloh. And also the 2 sons of Eli, that was the high priest, and these 2 sons were priests, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. Whenever the time came for Elkanah, the husband, to make an offering, he would give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and all her sons and daughters. She has sons and daughters, means many. If each one of them takes 9 months, say a year, she had many years of fertility and many years of rivalry between her and Hannah. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord has closed her womb. And it's very clear. It was God who closed her womb. It was intentional. And why? And her rival, also Peninnah, provoked her severely to make her miserable because the Lord has closed her womb. It's a matter of proving oneself. She wants to prove herself is the better wife. It's all insecurity. It happens all the time. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of the Lord that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? She cries with a loud voice in her room. Quietly she cries and she cannot keep her voice from being heard. Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? And this is a very interesting question. Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Yeah, right. So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting. She didn't eat. So they were eating in the feast. But she was, with them, sitting with them out of courtesy. And then she stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. What are we talking about? Outdoors, by the outer door. He was sitting next to those trees under the canopy, and he's looking. And she came and stood exactly at the outer door, not here at all. She never came into the tabernacle. It's unlawful for anyone, man or woman, to come inside the tabernacle. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed to the Lord and wept in anguish. And she made a vow and said, listen to this. O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child specifically, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. What does that mean? That's a Nazarite vow. In Israel, when God had, at one point, to say in short, when they worshipped the golden calf, he said, take the firstborn. I don't want the firstborn. Give me the Levites. The Levites were more zealous for God and more loving to God. So he took the Levites from all Israel and abandoned the firstborn. Now, anyone wants his child to serve with the priests, the Levites, need to do the following. Never cut his hair, any hair, and never to give him grape juice or grapes or raisins or grape molasses or anything, or grape leaves from the vine. Why? Most Israelites don't know, most rabbis didn't know, but some suggested it is a social thing, because you drink grape juice in social events, so they want to cut them socially. They're not going to be socially involved with Israel, to be separated. So the Nazarite vow is offered by the mother on behalf of the child that is not even yet conceived. Just imagine this. So she said, she said, and it happened. As she continued praying before the Lord, she's in severe anguish. You can't imagine. I would say her soul is coming out of her body, if you can imagine that. She's praying as if her soul is about to leave her body in extreme anguish. And when Eli saw that, he watched her mouth speaking, but now how Hannah spoke in her heart. Beautiful. The rabbinic teacher said, this is the first time we hear about the prayer of the heart. Nobody had ever explained it before, not even anywhere else in the Bible. She prayed in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk. When you see someone like that, the first thing that comes to your mind, if you don't understand, they are drunk. So Eli said to her, how long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, nor wine nor liquor, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. And here I want to go and tell you about St. Paul. He says, don't be drunk with wine or liquor, be filled with the Spirit. That's the way he's describing it, and I'm sure he's bringing it back to Hannah. She's a great teacher, by the way. Then Eli, as a priest, by the way, here you see one of the functions of the priest is to teach people how to behave in the church. That's one of the jobs of the priest. Eli's responsibility. He cannot say it's not my business. He's going to have to make sure that they know how to approach the sanctuary. So Eli first judged what she's doing, and then he felt sad for her, maybe ashamed. He said, "Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant you your petition, which you have asked of him." By the way, Eli was not a very pleasing person to God. If you read the rest of the story, he was not a good priest. He was actually letting his children do atrocities in the church, and he didn't rebuke them. And God's going to be very upset with him. He judged the actions that's done by Hannah, but then when he knew what she was doing, he felt pity for her. And his heart was open. All of a sudden, the priest's heart opened, and he giving her a promise. A promise. "And the God of Israel grant your petition." And she said, "Let your maidservant find favor in your sight." So the woman went her way, ate, and her face was no longer sad. She took whatever the priest said as God's words. What happened? She got pregnant. Of course, she had to go and sleep with her husband. Then they arose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, means they had a marital relationship, and the Lord remembered her. So she had not been pregnant for many years. In that year, she got pregnant. So it came to pass in the process of time that Hannah conceived and bore a son, called his name Samuel, saying, "Because I have asked for him from the Lord." Means the Lord heard my petition. Now the man Elkanah and whose house went up to offer the Lord yearly. She didn't go with them until he was 4 years old, they say. They say 4 years old, when she weaned him. And then when she weaned him, she took him and she brought him in her hand to the priest in another city, not close to her, and she will not see him after that except once a year. And she gave him hand by hand to Eli with a lot of gifts, calves, grain, oil, wine. She just gave him lavishly. And then after that, she had many other kids. So why do you think God waited? Why did God do this to this righteous, very holy woman? Why did he do that? A priest, a friend of mine, God rest his soul, said, apparently, that's the only thing we can think about. God was waiting for her to say what? Give him to me, I'll give him to you. God wanted a consecrated person. That time in Israel was the worst time ever. And God needed a prophet, not just a leader. Needed someone to speak to him. And for someone to be a prophet has to be really holy from his youth. He cannot be corrupted. He cannot be thinking about bad things in his mind and his heart as God is speaking to him. How that can work. So how God is going to make this? How is he going to do it? Unless he consecrate a person from the womb of his mother. So God is waiting for her to come to the point and says, it's okay, give me the child, I'll give him back to you. And that's exactly it. And when she said that, she heard the answer. Now, listen to me. God has his own business. Sometimes we are so selfish and childish and silly. And we want our things for ourselves. But God has another point. He has his plan. And we have to be, I would say, not only patient, but also trusting. That's the key word, trusting. That when you ask God something, no matter what it is, even if it is the silliest thing ever, it never gets skipped. There's no angel reading to God the list of, like Santa Claus, the list of items, and God will say, no, skip this one, skip this one. This never happens. Never happens. So, why would God not answer Zechariah in the time? Because Zechariah time has not come for him to offer God a boy. He wants a boy from this righteous, especially if they are righteous family, like Hannah, Zechariah, and Elizabeth. This brings me to the last reading that we're going to do today, which is the Luke 18. Jesus is saying a message for us, a parable in the New Testament, in the book of Luke. Then he spoke a parable to them, that men always ought to pray and not lose heart. What does it mean to lose heart? Give up. And he made it a matter of faith, trust, to trust. I trust God. He sees me. He sees me when I'm doing the right and the wrong. He sees me when I speak, when I dream. So why he would ignore anything I'm saying? There was in a certain city a judge who did not fear God nor regard men. Now there was a widow in that city. By the way, judge is a king. Judges are the top person in the country or the city. And there was a widow in that city. What's a widow? The bottom person in the city. Usually the weakest link. So the judge is the biggest and most powerful link, and the widow is the weakest. And that big contrast. And she came to him saying, get justice. So I want to just say something about this. There was a judge in a certain city, a judge who did not fear God nor regard men. Who is that? Usually judges, kings, fear gods. And especially in Israel, the kings feared God. Even if they don't believe in him, they feared. If there's something to come against them, that would be very scary to them. They want the support of God, but not to regard men also. So who's that? I always ask that question. Who's the person that does not fear God nor regard men? No, he did. He did. He was very scared of Elijah. I don't think even about the devil. We say sometimes people, they say the devil. The devil fear God, big time. Try to do everything to destroy us without getting punished. But who is that? It's God himself. God himself is the only person who does not fear God nor regard men. It's the only person ever. And he would not. He didn't listen to the widow. But afterward he said within himself, though I do not fear God or nor regard men, yet because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her, lest by continual coming she weary me. I will not be able to sleep or eat or read or talk or do anything if she keeps doing this all the time. Then the Lord said, that's Jesus, he's commenting on the parable. Hear what the unjust judge said. And then he's going to return it exactly the same way like I'm telling you now. And shall God not avenge his own elect? Now, who is the real judge? God. If you think about this judge as being unjust and doesn't care, will God do this? Why is he saying God doesn't care? And he's need to be harassed and pestered. Why is he saying that? Why is he saying that God has to be dealt with like an unjust judge? Does he think of his Father as an unjust judge? Do you think Jesus think of his Father as an unjust judge? So why is he saying that? Because we think of God this way. We say, God will always do what God pleases because I cannot twist his arm. I don't know of anybody that can actually manipulate him to do what I want. So what? You might as well give it up. Basically, that's what we say. So he's saying, don't think this way of my Father, but that's how you think. And even if you think this way, what should you do? Persist. Keep it up. Even if you think of my Father as someone who doesn't really care, bother him. But then he's not saying that. He's saying, and shall God not avenge his own elect who cry out day and night to him? Though he bears long with them, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he really find faith on earth? This is the biggest problem. We don't trust. We don't have that faith. We don't trust God. We don't trust God. Then we build all our lives on our own abilities and our own limitations. Whatever we can do. I can manipulate, I can steal, I can lie, I can find somebody to push me through to get the job I want somebody to say a good word about me, and I want a good doctor to treat me, and then what is that? It's just basically lack of trust. Just because we say God is going to do whatever God is going to do. That's what Zechariah had thought. Zechariah thought God's going to do what God is going to do. I might as well just stop. And when the angel came to talk to him, what did he say? Too late. I give up. نقول الكلمتين دول بالعربي عشان كده today I want to just give that very quick advice today. Just as you read this gospel and think about Zechariah, examine yourself. Say to yourself, is there anything that I'm really giving up on God for? There's any place in my life that I prayed for and then I stopped. And why did I stop? When did I stop? النهارده بنتكلم على الانجيل الاول من كياك. هم 4 اناجيل اللي هم الاصحاح الاولاني من لوقا، وبنبتدي النهارده في القرايات الاصحاح الاولاني من لوقا، وبنبتدي الاصحاح الاول من رساله روميا اللي هي اول رساله لبولس الرسول، وبنبتدي الاصحاح الاول من يعقوب اللي هي اول رساله من الكاثوليكون، ونبتدي الاصحاح الاول من سفر الاعمال اللي هي الابراكسيس. هنبتدي كل حاجه من الاول النهارده في احاد الكنيسه. والنهارده بنقرا القصه بتاعت زكريا لما وقف قدام الملاك، او الملاك وقف وجاله ظهر له وقال له ايه؟ الايه المشهوره: لا تخف يا زكريا لان طلبتك قد سمعت. اليصابات امراتك ستحبل وتلد ابنا وانت تدعو اسمه ايه؟ يوحنا. وقعد يقول له على يوحنا كل الوظيفه بتاعته من اولها لاخرها، الوصف الوظيفي، التوصيف الوظيفي ليوحنا من اوله لاخره، هيبقى ايه وهيعمل ايه وايه علاقته بالمسيح اللي جاي. في اخر الكلام بعد ما خلص الملاك، زكريا يقول له ايه؟ كيف اعرف هذا وانا ايه؟ وانا رجل متقدم في ايامي، والست مراتي ست عاقر ومتقدمه في ايامها. المهم ان في بدايه الكلام قال له ايه هو؟ قال له طلبتك. طب ازاي طلبتك كانت سمعت وهو بيقول له انا مش مصدق؟ غريبه شويه. يعني انا بقى بصلي عشان حاجه وبعدين لما ربنا يقول لي اوكي اقول له مش مصدقك. طب ما انا كنت بتصلي ليه؟ ايه اللي حصل غالبا؟ توقعاتنا يعني ان بعد طول الصلاه بطول الوقت ايه اللي حصل؟ وقف ونسي. خلاص هنعيش حياتنا راجل وست كبار، تيتا وجده من غير عيال ومفيش مشاكل خلاص. فالملاك زعل. عارفين الملاك عندهم مشكله معانا، مشكله كبيره قوي. على فكره الملائكه ان جنرال يعني بشوف من الانجيل مش بيحترمونا قوي. الاحترام الوحيد اللي بيدوه لنا بسبب مين؟ ربنا يسوع المسيح والعذراء طبعا. هو الشخص الوحيد اللي احترموه في الكتاب المقدس كله هو العذراء. اقول لكم ليه؟ خلي بالكم اخر حد اتكلم في المقابله دي ما بين الملاك وزكريا كان مين؟ بس عشان الملاك يبقى اخر واحد يتكلم كان لازم يعمل ايه؟ شات هيم اب. عارفين لما العيل تبقى انت اب ولا ام، المفروض انت اكبر في المقام واكبر في السن وفي كل حاجه، وكل ما تقول حاجه يروح يرد عليك، كل ما تقول حاجه يرد عليك، تحس بايه؟ انا ما عرفتش اربيه صح؟ اهان يعني المفروض اخر كلمه تتقال من مين؟ من الكبير. الكبير اللي يقول اخر كلمه مش الصغير. فزكريا عمال يقاوح، فالملاك ما يعني عايز اقول لكم صبرهم مش كبير مش زي ربنا. فراح جاب الريموت بطن وراح قال له بس كفايه بالريموت، مش محتاج يعمل حاجه زي ما حصل في بابل. انتوا عارفين في بابل حصل ايه؟ ربنا ما بعتش جيوش ملائكه عشان يقسم الناس. ريموت كنترول، كل واحد لغته ايه؟ راحت لحالها. فالوحيده اللي الملاك استناها تخلص كلام باحترام شديد جدا وهي اللي اتكلمت اخر واحده مين؟ العذراء طبعا، مفيش نقاش في دي. عشان كده احنا عارفين قيمتها، دي اعلى من الملائكه. المهم فليه هو وقف لانه فقد الايه؟ الثقه، فقد الامل. قال لك بقى خلاص يبقى ربنا هيعمل اللي هو عايزه. انا اصلي ليه؟ كلمه بنسمعها كتير، لما بسمعها كتير جدا، لما ربنا هيبقى هيعمل اللي هو عايزه، اصلي انا ليه؟ انتبهوا للنقطه دي، انها خطيره جدا. يقولوا كده عن ربنا يسوع المسيح في سفر اللاويين، في سفر عبرانيين، يقول لك كده: الذي في ايام جسده قدم بطلبات وتضرعات وصراخ للقادر ان ينقذه من الموت، وسمع له لاجل تقواه. سمع له منين؟ سفر العبرانيين يقول كده ان المسيح في ايام تجسده قدم صراخ ودموع عشان ينقذ من الموت، واتسمع. ازاي بقى؟ ده الكلام ده حصل فين؟ امتى حصل في الانجيل ان ربنا قدم صراخ ودموع وطلبات فين؟ جسماني. طب هو في جسماني لما كان بيصلي وكانت عرق وكان نزل زي الدم، كان بيقدم دموع وصلوات عشان ينقذ من الموت؟ طب والسمع ليه ازاي؟ بس ازاي اتسمع ليه وهو في ما عدتش 24 ساعه وكان على الصليب ومات؟ يعني هو ربنا سمعها، بس عملها بالطريقه وفي التوقيت اللي هو ايه عايزه، لكن هو هيسمع. وكأن ربنا يسوع المسيح في جسماني كسب لينا القيامه، خدها لنا. فبالتالي ربنا بيسمع كل حاجه احنا بنقولها، بيسمعها وبيحولها وبيعملها، بس لما تكون في الخطه بتاعته في مكانها وفي وقتها. عشان كده زكريا، هل ينفع، انتوا عارفين دلوقتي زكريا، هل ينفع زكريا كان يجي له عيل وهو لسه صغير شاب؟ ليه؟ لأن وظيفة العيل ده هيتملي بالروح القدس من بطن أمه عشان خدمة معينة هيعملها، اللي هي إيه؟ السابق ليسوع المسيح ابنه. يجي لازم قبله بكام شهر؟ 6 شهور بالظبط. فبالتالي زكريا لازم تهدى على نفسك شوية. طب بس مراتي بتتأخر، ما هو ده اللي هيقوله بقى. ده ضد العقل بقى. مراتي بتتأخر وخلاص العادة اتقطعت منها ومش ينفع تبقى حبلة والى اخره الى اخره الى اخره. قال له ايه؟ انت ما عندكش حاجات زي كده حصلت قبل كده؟ فبالتالي ربنا بيسمع حتى لو احنا نسينا، يعني احنا ننسى الصلوات وربنا يفضل ايه؟ فاكر؟ القصه اللي زي دي اللي انا قلتها وحكيتها دلوقتي، القصه بتاعت حنا ام صمويل، مش هطول عليكم انتوا كلكم عارفينها. حنا ام صمويل كانت ست زوجه تقيه جدا، تحب ربنا جدا، نعرف كده من الصلوات بتاعتها. وحنا ما كانتش بتخلف ومحدش عارف ليه، وربنا قافل عليها الخلفه خالص بالضبه والمفتاح. يوم يتجوزوا، انا متاكد الراجل ما كانش هيتجوز تاني، هو اتجوز لانه ما عندهمش عيال، فجاب ست عشان تاخد الارض، يجيب عيال ياخد الارض، طبيعي في اسرائيل كده. فجاب الست تانية اسمها بنينا، لانها الست الزوجه التانية حاسه بانها ايه؟ اقل، حاسه بالنقص. فعشان تغلب النقص ده تعمل ايه؟ تغيظ في عمتنا مين؟ حنا، تغيظ فيها بقى. يقول لك كان عندها اولاد وبنات، يعني معناها سنين بتغيظ فيها. وشوفي عيال حلوين ازاي، وشوفوا ازاي وبيلبسوا يروحوا المدرسه وبيجوا من المدرسه الى اخره. فالست كانت متضايقه جدا جدا، كانت تقعد تعيط لوحدها، كل عيد يتلموا عليه وياكلوا ويشربوا معاه، وهي تقعد في اوضتها تعيط، لغايه لما جه في يوم من الايام بعد ما اكلوا هي ما كلتش. راحت وقفت، كانوا يقفوا بره الشارع، في الشارع خالص، ما فيش حد يخش الكنيسه غير الكهنه بس، الكهنه اللي عليهم الدور كمان، وما حدش يخش الهيكل. الهيكل ده مقفول خالص، الكنيسه مفتوحه للكهنه، واللي بره زي فاكرين ايام كوفيد كده، حاجه زي كده. وبعدين وقفت هناك عند الباب وفضلت تصلي، وهي بتصلي المنظر يقول لك كانت بتدلق روحها. عارفين يعني الواحد يدلق روحه؟ كان روحها ايه؟ هتطلع، روحها هتطلع وهي بتصلي. فلما القسيس شافها، الكاهن بتاع اللي هو علي، ودي وظيفته بالمناسبه، ما عملش حاجه غلط، ان يلاقي حد جاي مش مظبوط الكنيسه لازم يعمل ايه؟ يوقفه ويعلمه، ملهاش حل، دي وظيفه الكاهن في كل العصور وكل الزمان. يقول له لا، مش صح، ما ينفعش، لاني انا ربنا حاططني في البيت ده خادم البيت ده. لو انت جيت عند الملك، مين اللي هيوقفك لو انت مش لابس مظبوط؟ الحارس بتاع الباب، البواب بتاع القصر، هو ده اللي عليه. لو ما عملش كده الملك يعمل ايه؟ يجيبه هو يحاسبه. فوقف هو قال لها ايه يا ست، انت سكرانه، جايه سكرانه، شيل الخمره بتاعتك قبل ما تيجي الكنيسه. فقالت له، ففتحت عينيها، هي طبعا دموع نازله وحاله من حاله كرب خالص. واحده مدلوق دلقه نفسها، لما يقول تسكب نفسها، دي حاجه احنا لازم كلنا نعرفها. يعني ايه الواحد يسكب نفسه؟ لازم نكون بنعملها. لما الانسان يتضايق يروح يسكب نفسه، امر الله، يعني معناه بيدلق روحه، يعني روحه بتطلع في الصلاه بالاخر كده. دي الثقة بتاعت الإنسان في ربنا. أنا قدرت أطوله، بس أطوله عشان بس أديله اللي أنا عايز أقوله له. أبص لديه ضيقي عند فناء روحي مني. فعملت كده. فعلي قال لها إيه؟ شيل الخمرة. فقالت له أنا مش سكرانة، أنا مرة النفس وأنا أسكب نفسي أمام الله. طب وبعدين؟ قال لها اتكسف الكاهن، لأنه إيه؟ قال أنا رحت الناحية التانية. أول ما حدش سمع عن القصة دي قبل كده، دي أول مرة يسمع حاجة اسمها صلاة القلب وسكب النفس، أول مرة يسمع عنها في الكتاب المقدس. فعلي قال لها اذهبي واللي أنت طلبتيه من ربنا هيكون لك. خدت دي على إنها إيه؟ وعد ربنا. خلصت، راحت رجعت أكلت ولبست، ولما روحوا البيت نامت مع جوزها عشان هيبقى في عيل. وجه صمويل وسميته صمويل، معناها ربنا سمع. هنا جه صمويل ليه؟ هنا بقى النقطة خطيرة. هي بتصلي، عشان احنا ما كناش فاضيين، هي بتصلي قالت ايه لربنا؟ قالت له اديني بس ولد، اديني ولد، واول ما هتديهوني انا هعمل ايه؟ هديهولك. هيبقى ايه؟ خادم ليك طول حياته، مش هيسيب بيت ربنا، هيبقى نذير. كلمة قوية جدا في اسرائيل، نذير يعني معناها ما ينفعش يعمل حاجة تانية. هتاخده كده من ايده، وهي ده اللي عملته، تاخده من ايده بعد ما يتفطم وتروح تحطه في ايدين الكاهن وتسيبه وتمشي وتشوفه مرة في السنة. واحد من الكهنة الناس القديسين كان مرة قال الكلمة دي جميلة قوي، انا شايف انها الحاجة الوحيدة المناسبة. قال ان ربنا استنى عليها لغاية لما ايه؟ قالت الندر. طب ليه ربنا؟ عشان عايز صمويل. عايز صمويل هيبقى كاهن ونبي ليه. خلي بالكم، النبي معناها واحد ما تلوش بالايه؟ بالخطيه. واحد مش معقول يكون بيسمع، يعني تخيلوا انت كده واحد سامع صوت ربنا بيكلمه وفي نفس الوقت في صور وحشه في دماغه، او في كلام سيء جدا في دماغه، او في علاقات وحشه جدا في دماغه. هينفع يتكلم مع ربنا وهو في وسط الحاجات دي؟ لا يمكن ابدا. فعايز واحد يكون ايه؟ نظيف بجد من بدايه خالص، مفيش فيه حاجه بوظته خالص خالص. عشان كده العذراء ابتدى معاها وهي صغيره، وعشان كده صمويل ابتدى معاه وهو صغير، وعشان كده يوحنا المعمدان خده من بطن امه. انتبهوا لألا يكون بنضحك على نفسينا. مش ممكن صوت ربنا يتسمع في ودان او في قلب حد هو اصلا ايه؟ نجس وفي نجاسه. فبالتالي ربنا عايز دي، وعايز واحد بقى من بدري، من اول من بطن امه. فقال لها خلاص هاتيه بقى. فخدته وديته للكاهن بعد 4 سنين، فطموه بعد 4 سنين. خدته عيل عنده 4 سنين، اديته للكاهن ورجعت وهي فرحانه. وبعد كده جابت ولاد وبنات وبقت ام عندها عيال كتير جدا. فكت الازمه. ليه؟ لان ربنا عايز ومستني منها ايه؟ الكلمه دي. زي ما ربنا كان عايز ومستني الوقت بتاع ابنه يجوا عشان يدي يوحنا المعمدان، زي ما ربنا عايز مننا ايه؟ احنا عبط، ما تاخذونيش يعني، عبط. كل واحد بيدور على مصلحته اللي شايفها تحت رجليه، لكن شايف ربنا من فوق شكله ايه؟ شايف حاجات كتير جدا تانية. وكل حاجه احنا بنعملها ليها مكان في الخطه بتاعته، حتى واحنا خطاه. ما هو كل ده عشان خاطرنا احنا، صمويل ويوحنا المعمدان والعذراء وربنا يسوع المسيح، ما عشاننا. فاحنا مش هنبقى مهمين؟ لا، احنا مهمين جدا عند ربنا. النهارده نفكر في الحته دي. لما تيجي تبتدوا كده تقولوا ايه؟ اللي جه في ملء الزمان ده، يا ترى انا طالب من ربنا حاجه وكنت طالبها وما ادهنيش؟ افحص نفسك وقول يا ترى انا يئست من ربنا في حاجه؟ زهقت؟ بطلت اصلي؟ ولا هسمع صوت ربنا اللي بيقول ايه؟ بيقول لازم تصرخ ليل ونهار وما تسيبوش، لان اللي يفرق بين الرجاء والايمان هو اللجاجه. انا عندي رجاء اديني حاجه، ممكن يديها ممكن لا، لكن انا عندي ايمان هيديهاني لو انا عندي ايه؟ اللجاجه. هي دي اللي تعبر الفجوه ما بين الرجاء والايمان، ما بين الامل وما بين الثقه واليقين. لإلهنا كل المجد الاب والابن والروح القدس.
Dinem Bisharetes Musnem Gabriel Biangelos Shereke Charitomeni O Kyrios Metaso Es Vebaiten Tione O Theotokos Enseio Mateo Bibshoi Seriagon Intefkan Novinane Jefes Marot Jefyon Mebshirin Mbehna